I'll use is a mixture of English and Hindi. मेरा नाम अनिल सोमानी है. I have been to some of the best institutes in the country. I am a product of IIT Bombay. I am a product of IIM Ahmedabad. I drive a Jaguar car, wear a Rolex watch, Cartier sunglasses, take 2, 3, 4 luxury holidays in a year, live in one of the most posh colonies of New Delhi. In short, I'm a very successful man whom you would describe as an epitome of success in life. But then, and I've created a legacy of my own. But then this journey has not been easy. It's been full of ups and downs. And let me, in the next 10 or 15 minutes, let me tell you how and why I have reached over here. मेरा जन्म मध्य प्रदेश के ग्वालियर शहर में एक मिडिल क्लास फैमिली में हुआ. परिवार में किसी को भी अंग्रेजी नहीं आती थी. मेरी माँ शायद ही कभी स्कूल गई होगी और मेरे पिताजी चौथी जमात तक पढ़े हुए थे. But my father realized one fact that, well, it is very, very important that his children must get a good education. And with that thought in mind, he mustered his resources and put me in a boarding school. Suddenly I landed myself, like a sheep amongst bulls, in an environment of affluence and English-speaking affluence. Natija ye hua कि I went into a shell. I became an absolute introvert. Class में I used to come almost amongst the last 2 or 3 students in my class in examinations. एक बार हमें एक essay दिया गया था to write an essay in school on my school. And I wrote that essay and I came to the class. And it so happened, my luck or bad luck or whatever you would say, that the teacher asked me to read out that essay aloud. और मैंने जब पढ़ना शुरू किया तो I kept reading and I realized कि मैंने यहाँ गलती की है, यहाँ गलती की है, and I started correcting myself. And as I was correcting, I reached a stage when I realized that, well, I can't go beyond that. बोलते बोलते मैं रुक गया. My teacher was surprised कि I can't read my own handwriting. उन्होंने मेरी कॉपी मेरे हाथ से खींची और फिर देखा कि जो मैं पढ़ रहा था, which was totally different from what I had written. She asked me why and how. मेरे पास कोई जवाब नहीं था. सिर्फ आंखों से टप 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 करके आंसू गिर रहे थे. But that day, that humiliation made me realize that come what may, I must learn English. The example of what I have achieved is what you can see and hear today. बोर्डिंग स्कूल में अगर आप लोगों से कोई भी हो या इस कॉलेज में कहीं भी आप जाओ, students who are good in sports are always considered as heroes. पढ़ने लिखने वालों की कोई इतनी कदर नहीं होती है. And my slender frame, whatever I was, and my introvertish nature, I was not at all good in sports. But then, one habit and capability that I learned that I had and I developed was the ability to introspect, the ability to look within myself. And then when I had this ability to look within myself, I realized that, well, I had a flair for numbers. I realized that I had good observation powers. It was an amazing feature. कि कई बार बहुत होता है कि हमको सीखने के लिए लोगों से पूछने में झिझक होती है. हम सोचते हैं कि हम भाई कैसे पूछेंगे, क्या करेंगे. लेकिन हम अगर सही तरीके से ऑब्जर्व करें तो हम बहुत कुछ सीख सकते हैं. So I had this powers to learn from observation and something which I started learning, my flair for numbers. Soon I climbed up the class and I was amongst the toppers in my class. I passed out of school and going to engineering was a natural corollary, so I gave the IIT entrance examination. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I secured All India rank of 63rd amongst 63,000 students who appeared for the IIT entrance examination. That was the day I realized, okay, brother, I am good. And I had a choice, my branch of engineering, my branch of college, and of course, my small town fetish made me think, yaar, film world hai, Bombay mein, wahin jaake padhenge. So I went to IIT Bombay. I spent 5 years of engineering over there, some of the best years, and in that 5 years, I transformed myself because I was on a high of my merit scholarships and my 63rd rank in All India. I became, from introvert, a complete extrovert. After passing out from IIT, going to US for a master's was a natural process. I had admission in the best of universities, but simultaneously I also cleared the IMA entrance examination. My father, उन्होंने सोचा कि भाई सस्ता ऑप्शन है, इसको अहमदाबाद ही भेज दो, कहाँ यूएस से जाएगा. So I went to IMA and not to US. But then, whatever the reason, that was some of the best decisions that my father had ever taken. और मेरे इन 2 सालों में जो मैंने सीखा, a whole lot of, because some of the best minds were there, a whole lot of peer learning was there, and I also understood the power of alternatives, and which I will explain to you how it helped me in the later part of my journey. From IMA, I got a good job. I went to USA, was posted in New York City, but in between what happened was कि मेरे father का business डूब गया था, collapse हो गया था, and he came into huge debt. With nobody else to look after his family, this family business, I came back to India and started taking care of my father's business. The day I started, we had a total cash balance of rupees 12 in the entire Somani family business. और क्योंकि बिजनेस डूब गया था, कोर्ट केस था, हमें 200 रुपए की आवश्यकता थी कोर्ट फीस जमा कराने के लिए. और उस 6 लाख की आबादी वाले ग्वालियर शहर में कोई 200 रुपए देने वाला नहीं था. मुझे वो दिन आज भी याद है कि मैं अपने घर के जेवर गिरवी करके 200 रुपए, 1200 रुपए हमने रेस किए और उससे कोर्ट को किया, अपना बिजनेस शुरू किया. एंड इन लेस देन अ डिकेड I built it into a great distribution kind of channel. But then at the end of the day, after having studied to have done engineering from IIT and also IMA, I used to think, यार मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ, मैं तो shopkeeper हूँ. And I set up a pharmaceutical company, which was again a quantum leap, a leap of faith which I had taken. 2-3 साल वो pharmaceutical company बहुत अच्छी चली, but then there was a Chinese dumping and low technology product, etc. So the factory also went into the dumps. So when the plant went to the dumps, again, the lenders came over and they locked the plant up. 6 महीने तक मेरा प्लांट बंद रहा. इस 6 महीने में मैं भाग दौड़ इतनी की, कहीं पर किसी से कोशिश की, कहीं से फंड्स मिल जाए, कुछ हो जाए, कुछ टाई अप हो जाए, और 6 महीने बाद मैंने कैसे भी करके वो ताला तोड़ के फैक्ट्री शुरू करी. From a staff strength of 300, we started back again with just a core team of 6 people. मैंने देखा 6 महीने के बंद होने के पीरियड में इक्विपमेंट में जंग लग गया था, बुरी तरह से हालत हो गई थी और मेरी आंखों से आंसू से निकल गए कि भाई कैसे मैं इसको करूंगा. That day again, second time in my life, I resolved that no, come what may, I will not let this plant ever shut down again. The power of alternative which I learned at IIM Ahmedabad started making me look for alternatives. I tied up and did alliances with drug majors and collaborated with Ranbaxy laboratories, worked with them for about 7 years, and at the end of 7 years the plant became so important and critical for Ranbaxy that they decided to buy me out in an all-cash deal. Armed, flush with funds, the children had grown up at that time, and there were no opportunities for them in the city of Gwalior. So I moved bag and baggage in 2007 to New Delhi. कुछ दोस्त हमारे थे, वो भी अपनी ऐसी इनिंग्स कॉर्पोरेट की खत्म कर चुके थे. उनके साथ मिलके हमने सोचा कि अब क्या करें. So in order to give back to the society, having achieved whatever we thought we were required to achieve in our lives, we set up an MBA college, business school in Delhi. The name of the business school course was FOSTIMA. FOSTIMA mein F stands for friends and the IMA is the last four letters which stands for our college, who were the friends. There was a kind of message in that well yes, so 40 years ago we were friends when we were studying together in IMA, and even 40 years later we were friends. And these bonds of friendships which he had built were so strong that stood with us for not 40 but now today, more than 50 years. Those bonds of friendship still exist. But once again, we were branded as a fake college by none other than the All India Council for Technical Education. Again, our numbers with a strength of 300 plus were down to 25. We were on the verge of closure, a shutdown. The power of alternatives made me look for alliances. We looked for alliances, got the AICTE approval, got everything done, and today I am the chairman of an MBA college in Delhi with about 800 students. It gives me tremendous satisfaction when I see the thousands of the students whose careers I have shaped, they are performing so well, outperforming their peers in the corporate world, and when they come back and they say, sir, thank you very much, I think that I really have achieved what I set out to achieve in my life. I would like to stop over here and go back to from where I started. That in this story, of course, the story that I heard in the beginning, before mine, was very inspiring. But in this story, what are the learnings? A normal cliched thing would be that, well, sir, it is hard work and determination which has made you reach here. I would say no. What has actually made the difference is the ability to introspect critically, the ability to look within yourself. The ability to look within yourself and understand. If I had not understood that, well, yes, I had this power of observance, that I had this player of numbers. Somewhere in the school, I started doing debating and elocution and things like that. That made me realize, and I realized much later in life, that I have this ability to throw my voice. That, well, yes, when I speak, everybody listens. And these are realizations which happen because of my ability to look within myself. I learned that, well, yes, if I divide my life, there are 4 separate phases. 1, my school days. 2, my college, my business, when I left my job and came to my hometown, my manufacturing unit, and my B school. At every stage, there is a power of alternatives which has helped me to come. Some may call me a serial entrepreneur. Some may call me a turnaround specialist. But no, I call myself an orbit jumper. So I would call myself an orbit jumper. The orbit jumper कौन होता है, क्या होता है? So one of my people I look up to has been Dhirubhai Ambani. और धीरूभाई अंबानी से एक बार किसी ने पूछा कि सर आपने अपनी लाइफ में कहां से कहां पहुंच गए, और इस दरमियान आपने बहुत सारे लोगों को नाराज किया होगा, बहुत सारे लोगों को टेंडर्स में, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स में आउटबिड किया होगा, सब आपसे नाराज होंगे. They would all be wanting to pull you down. Dhirubhai said, yes, you are absolutely correct. They want to do that. But then by the time they realize that I have outbidded them, that I have actually snatched away their contracts from them, I am in a completely different orbit, beyond their reach. So this ability which Dhirubhai had of being an orbit jumper, this is an ability which I actually have learned and imbibed in myself from him. And if this ability, if any of you wants to do well in life, I mean, like it was said a little while ago that, well, yes, you know, all of us have all these things. We go to school, college, take up a job, and get a car, buy a family, etc., and we're happy about it. No. To be able to be really successful, to be able to be an achiever, you have to develop this habit of being an orbit jumper. Ups and downs are a part of life of everybody. I always believe that life is a sine curve. But then in that sine curve, the trajectory should be always upwards, not flat or downward. So, thank you very much.